graveyard. Never gives anything to life. It always is in a receiving mood. And no one in their right mind is ever asking to go and hang out in the graveyard. Do I have a witness in the house? As we look at 5th chapter, according to the Gospel of Mark, we see the story of a little man who was led to live in the graveyard. He lived roaming the graveyard both day and night. This man was unruly. He was untamed. This man was not only a detriment to the people of the town, but he was also a harm to himself. Look at verse 3. Verse 3 says that nobody could control him, not even with chains. Verse 4 says that they would put chains on him, but he somehow would break the chains. Night and day, this man would run from the graveyard to the mountains, cutting himself and crying aloud. Society had decided that they didn't want to deal with him anymore. So they chose to place him in a place of death. Didn't want to see him anymore, so they locked him up with chains and bars, hoping never to deal with little man again. But they soon found out that this societal problem could not be fixed with chains and bars. And America will never be right unless they understand that locking our boys and our men up is not always the answer. Our communities won't ever be right unless we deal with the souls of our black men. Yes, the church also holds responsibility, because we have sometimes decided to avoid little man and not deal with the soul and the morality of little man. Do I have a witness in the house? Yes, I know little man is crazy. Yes, I know that these young folks sometimes have lost their mind. Yes, they are acting like they have been possessed with an evil spirit. Even now in the coronavirus, there's some still having parties, some still walking around like nothing is going on. And we sitting there sometimes looking at them like, have you lost your mind? But I come by to tell somebody today, Mount Carmel, until the church brings Jesus off the shore, off the steps, and into the tombs of the walking dead, that they will never come from out of the grave. Do I have a witness in the house? And so when we look at the text, first point I want to lift into the light is in verse 2. It says, and immediately when he saw Jesus, the man came from out of the tombs to meet Jesus. And that brings me to my point. When you see Jesus, you should move from out of the place of death. Yeah, when you see Jesus, you will move from out of your place of death. How many know that the sight of Jesus will make you move? Verse 6 says that as as messed up as this man was, that when he saw Jesus, he ran and worshiped him. And the truth about the truth is that somebody here is listening today because you saw Jesus and you had to move from out of that place of death. Somebody here today saw Jesus. You were messed up. You were in a bad place. You didn't know what to do with yourself. Oh, but when you saw Jesus, you may not have known how to pray. You may not have known what to say or what to do, but you knew that you had to get up from out of your graveyard and run to Jesus. Do I have a witness in the house? Others are listening and watching here today because you are currently in a mental graveyard. You are currently hurting and don't know what to do. Yes, I come by to tell you to get up from out of the graveyard. Get up from out of your death. Get up and break the chains that are holding you back. Well, I'm here to argue the case, Dr. Smith, that we have to show these walking zombies. We have to show them Jesus. Yes, they may need counseling and therapy, but they really need to see Jesus. Yes, they may need their mama or father, but they really need Jesus. Yes, they need a job, but they need Jesus. Yes, they may have to deal with the hurts of their past, but I come by to tell you that when you have Jesus, he will make a crooked line straight. When you have Jesus, you don't have to depend on your resume because God will some kind of way open doors that's been closed in your faith. When you have Jesus, he'll make your enemies your footstool. When you have Jesus. When we saw the city of Baltimore erupt a few years ago in response to the system of racism and depravity of the black community, when we saw how George Floyd was killed, we saw young folk all over the country erupt to fight for their lives. Saw these young people explode like a volcano, erupting from years of boiling lava. But it wasn't until the preachers and the church folk took to the streets. Wasn't until the preachers and the prophets stood up and took to the streets that calm and direction came to the people. For after George Floyd's death, for at least 6 months, I, along with other preachers of the city, of the DMV, we went and prayed at the White House every Sunday at 3 o'clock. And because of that, I went with my daughter. We were looking at it on TV before we started praying. When the whole chaos started to happen, my daughter said, "Daddy, I want to go down to the White House." And I'm crazy enough I'm trying to build a soldier. I took her down there, 13 years old, and we went down there. And while we were down there, we got sprayed with pepper spray. The police came. You saw Trump come and wipe the crowd out. And there I started to see young people trying to fight the police, trying to fight the National Guards. And I said, there's no preachers out here. Next Sunday we came, we gathered, and we expressed that we had to still be moral people. We had to still have some direction, and because the preachers came on the scene, chaos went away. Because the preachers came on the scene, folks who were spitting at the police, who were pushing the police, saw preachers in their suits and decided to say, yes, sir, and no, sir. When they see Jesus, things will change in our community. Do I have a witness? When the church stands up and shows Jesus, our community will get better. Our children will get better. Our nation will get better. One of the reasons why white folk have decided that there's nothing wrong with what they're doing is because the white evangelicals have been quiet on racism, have been quiet on black folks' blood in the streets. But if the church decides to stand and say, for God I live and for God I die, our community, our nation, our world will change. Second point I want to lift into the light, as we look at this pericope and the process of coming from out of the grave, is we must see who we are. Do I have a witness? We must see who we are. Jesus asked this man, verse 9, what is your name? Here the demon answered, saying, Legion, we are many. The man, overcome with the demons, allowed the demons to speak out instead of the man speaking for himself. And many people are allowing their situation to speak and define them instead of them knowing who they are and whose they are. Stay with me here. You can't allow our situations to define who we are. Yeah. When you meet Jesus, you are no longer Pipehead Tanya. You're no longer Thomas the drunk. You are no longer Reese with all the babies. You are no longer player. I'm talking to the men now. You are no longer who you used to be labeled as. Do I have a witness? You're no longer an abused woman. God made us to be the light of the world. He made us to be the head and not the tail. He made us to be more than conquerors. This man was labeled, little man was labeled by his condition. And whenever one doesn't know who they are destined for destruction. And many of the issues we face in our community is because folk don't understand who they are. Do you think that if someone taught her that she is a queen and a princess, that she would keep swinging on that pole, getting dollars thrown at her? Do you think that if someone taught her she had potential, that she would be comfortable being a baby factory? Do you think that if someone showed him how smart he is, how he's a leader, how he has been tricked, that he would continue killing himself with drugs and alcohol? Do you think if he was taught how valuable he is to his family and to his community, that he will continue to throw his life away, going to jail, going to prison? Do I have a witness? Do you think if we taught the modern day black politician that the blood was shed for the seat that they sit in, that they would continue to sell the African American people out for a few pennies and a few positions?